Welcome to the EMEA Recruitment Podcast in partnership with Operation Smile. We're working with Operation Smile to raise awareness of the work they're doing across the globe to provide free surgery to children with cleft lip and palate. Find out more at emearecruitment.com/operation-smile. In this episode, we're joined by Edgar Magyar, CFO and Global Client Finance Lead at Publicis Groupe in Zurich. He explains how his leadership style relies on trust within his team.
So, hello everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the EMEA Recruitment Podcast in partnership with our good friends over at Operation Smile. As my colleague Rose has just mentioned, we're delighted to welcome Edgar onto the podcast today. So hopefully you can hear me okay still.
Yes, I can. Hello, everyone.
Perfect. That's good. A good start. Modern technology is doing well for us. So, whereabouts do we find you in the world at the moment, Edgar?
Currently, I'm in Zurich, as I live in Zurich. But also traveling a lot around due to my global roles, but mainly in Zurich.
No, that's it. It's I know. Obviously, we're recording this in June of 2022. Yep. We're obviously at this stage coming out of the pandemic, and things are starting to get back to some kind of normality. And I guess one of the things I like to kind of ask people when they're on the podcast at this stage in their lives is, clearly it's been a very hectic and challenging time for all of us, really, over COVID, and I think there's plenty of negative things we can talk about relating to the whole situation. But is there anything, positive for you that you've really taken from the COVID period that you look back and think actually, things are better because of it, really?
There were a couple of things, I think. First of all, we spent a lot of time together as a family. And anyway, continuing to work, both my wife and I, 100%, and managing things from home. And it was great to combine those two worlds, and we keep up with this. And I think the same applies also to our employees here. We try now, coming out of the pandemic and coming back to our offices, so back to work, try to keep the better part of working from home and working from the office. So we meet in the office for meetings with the team, with clients, and so on. But keep flexibility for our employees also to make them manage their daily things they have to do in the best way possible.
No, and I think it's, as you say, I mean, it's been one of those things that it has brought about its challenges, and especially, people who've had, families to look after and children over this time. It's not been easy, especially at the start of it all. And I think in that answer, you mentioned your wife there, and I know you're a bit of a power couple, aren't you? Your wife also in finance as well. So I thought, and it's not so unusual actually. I mean, we know quite a lot of people who meet and they're in the same job discipline. But I thought I'd ask you what it's like really to work as a finance couple, people in the same discipline. How does it work for you guys?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I met my wife in my previous company. We work in the same discipline, in the same job, basically, and we both have been quite lucky for having been offered many opportunities in different companies and industries. And going through this way together has somehow made us have both of us in a certain way. We are talking a lot about our problems to resolve and decisions we have to take. And it's true, we are in the same discipline, but we are very different in terms of character and talent. And so over time, we became trusted advisor to each other. It makes it very interesting also because you can suggest your way of resolving a problem while the other would take a completely different approach. And this, of course, will be challenged by your partner, but you can also challenge the view of your partner's solution. And I think that's So if you like, it's like coming from the creative industry. It's like a creative process. As I see it in our creative departments, when they develop an advertising campaign, the best ideas come out from working together, brainstorming different opinions, different types of personality, talent, characters, whatever. This brings the best ideas and the best campaigns in the end of the day. So our product, in case of my wife and myself, this is then the best case to a decision we have to take.
No, it's really interesting. I mean, I think you mentioned there a bit about, working with trusted advisors, working together, and then when you look at the company point of view, trying to work closely with your colleagues and teams and brainstorming, getting ideas moving forward. And I suppose one of the challenges that a lot of managers have had over this time is they had to adapt their management style to the situation of meeting people remotely and trying to motivate and care for their teams using video technology. And I thought, obviously, given your position, I thought I'd ask you a bit about your management style generally. To see what kind of style you would tend to lead with, and what benefits you think that's really brought to the team around you.
Yes, I think. The management style I try to live or to keep up continuously helped me a lot also during the pandemic and during the long period of only video conferences and so on, because I have been very lucky, because in my career I have always been offered a lot of opportunities and freedom from my bosses. Something that I really appreciate and I really like, because I couldn't work for someone who tells me what to do and when. I couldn't stand that. This would be the end of our relationship. So if I like this, I think my team members are likely to appreciate this as well. So what I basically do is I trust them to do their job, and that's it. Of course, they can also always ask me if they need help, and I'm happy to just suggest solutions of how I would do it. But I wouldn't dictate anything. You need to find and apply your best solution, not mine. If you think that my solution is the best, then go for it. But my opinion here is not mandatory at all. So. This has always led to independent teams and teams and people who took on responsibility for their decisions. It has led to team members that come to the office to actively and independently manage their area of responsibility and not to do what they have been told. And I think even here, this independence and decision making within the team helps me to manage all my tasks and my responsibilities. But of course, it helped quite a lot during the Zoom and Teams area that we had the last 2 years.
I mean, it's interesting because I guess that the answer you've given it focuses around the trust element that you give to the team, which is brilliant, and I think is a trait of many great managers. But I think it's one of those things that's quite hard to action. It's probably easy to say, but hard to put into place. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who probably listening to the podcast now who've worked for managers who've really struggled with giving people trust and want to have more control over processes and procedures than maybe they should do. And I think maybe I was just wondering from a management point of view, I mean, clearly when it works, the trust element is brilliant because you get more from your team and you build that great relationship with them. But I suppose there's also been times when it's not worked maybe the way you would have hoped. I mean, how do you kind of deal with that? Because I suppose the element of trust is you don't know if you can trust somebody until you trust them, really. So you've got to test it first. But how do you tend to deal with it when it doesn't quite work out in the early stages? Yeah,
well, you start to test it. You start in the beginning. I try to spend much time with an employee who took on a new responsibility within their role, and I try to try to ask as much as possible how I can help if they understood everything. I suggest things how I would do it, but always underlining that this is not mandatory. If they think that we should do differently, then they should go for it. And I think here in this way of, on one hand, giving freedom, and on the other hand, telling what you expect or what you would do, gives them an idea of how this team should work together. And then going forward, you see handing over from small responsibilities and maybe even pushing them in a decision process where they have to take a decision, and you see then and you observe how they behave, how they decide. If they are not 100% sure, they come up to you and just download the problem on your desk, or they suggest different solutions and talk with you about advantages and disadvantages of those solutions. So you learn whom you can trust. And of course, leadership positions within my team, I would mainly offer to people that I have already worked before. We work together, and I know that I can trust them. Unless there is no other way and I have to recruit from outside, then as I mentioned before, start to work together, being very close to the new person in your team, and observe, listen, make sure that normal decision situations come up quite frequently, and you just observe how they behave.
No, it's interesting. And so I think within that, you mentioned that obviously, when you built up a relationship with somebody, the trust is there, and you can hopefully move them into future roles. And even in my role as an external recruiter, I see that that's the best way to build a business. If you can keep great people in the organization, retain them, get the people who know the product or the service, and they're really motivated to work with you, that's always the best way to have a happy, growing team. But as you mentioned there, on occasion, you do need to look outside and bring in external people. So I thought I could take advantage of that answer by asking a question about recruitment. I mean, I suppose we can't really have a conversation on the recruitment podcast without bringing this subject up, really. From your experience, what have you found are the best steps to take in order to recruit quality people?
Yeah, I think first one should be clear about the needs. Of course, everyone will have some kind of job description, but when searching a new talent, especially when you talk about the leadership position, I think not only the technical aspect must be considered. I think the bigger part, or where I at least spend most of the time in the process with, is the cultural fit within the team and character traits of the person. So I try to define not only the technical job description, but mostly the soft skills and what I would expect from this person to be. Second, we prepare for the interviews and take enough time for many questions that we have to raise. We ask many questions, understand here also mainly around the cultural fit within the team. We need to be clear in terms of the amount of work, the working hours, pressure, whatever situation you have in your teams. Be clear about it, because the people will then anyway find out. And if you haven't been clear in the beginning, they will be disappointed and demotivated. So be clear about what's the status, and this was my learning. This works best then long term to keep people. It might be more difficult in the beginning to find the right one, but on long term it works out. Then I think what's also important, get the candidate to meet the team. And in my case, I always do this without my personal presence. Candidate and team should get together. It's important for both to know the other. It's important for the team to know who will join. So, because first of all, they have also to understand if it's a cultural fit for them. Second, they will ask questions that you would never think about. And it's also great for the candidate because he knows the environment that he is likely to join. He will have a better explanation about his day-to-day job than I could ever give. Someone I don't know, working in accounts payables will be likely to explain better the day-to-day problems they might have instead of I would do this from some kind of helicopter view. Then once the candidate has met the team, let the team be part of the decision making. I think this was also an experience that I've made from the beginning of my career that always has been appreciated a lot by the team, and that built up highly motivated and strong teams with strong team culture. If they are part of the decision making, it's important for them because they have to work the bigger part of their daytime anyway with the new joiner. So they should be part of this decision making process. Of course, if you completely disagree with your team's opinion, you should find out what went wrong. But it actually never happened to me. You know, the team and I, we were usually quite aligned, and there were some important inputs also from the teams that I learned over the years that I wouldn't have thought about. And that's important also for me to grow in my decision making on new joiners. And I think the last point that I want to mention here is be generous. If the candidate, I don't know, for example, has a particular need in terms of flexibility on working hours, go for it. If your top candidate costs a bit more than the others, don't think about it. It's these small things that we can offer to make the candidate happy will be paid back 1,000 times. So if it's the right candidate, go for it. And because you should make the first step in building a trust relationship, and great team spirit and trust is built over time, and everybody has to contribute. And I think it's my responsibility, up to me to make the first step in this in building this trust with the people joining our teams.
Hi everybody, it's Paul Thomas here. I hope that you're well and you're enjoying the podcast so far. Thank you once again for your continued support listening to the podcast. I just wanted to break into the recording to talk to you about a really exciting partnership that EMEA Recruitment has along with Operation Smile. And as founder of EMEA Recruitment, it's an honour and a privilege to announce this partnership. Personally, I was born with a cleft lip and palate, so the mission of Operation Smile is something that I have a strong personal connection with. It's not an understatement to say that the dentists and surgeons that helped me were life changers. It's not only about the actual operations that take place, the support and care post and pre-operation are beyond value, and from personal experience I can only say that I'd not be the confident, happy person I am today without this support. I want to help children experience the support and care and skill that I experienced on my journey, and hope that we can do this along with Operation Smile. Every 3 minutes a child is born with a cleft lip or cleft palate, and the mission of Operation Smile is to provide help and support to these children through providing 6,000 medical volunteers across 80 countries who are dedicated to help these children with facial conditions, most commonly cleft lip and cleft palate. More than 200,000 children are born with a cleft every year, and they are often unable to speak, eat, socialise or even smile. However, it can take as little as 45 minutes and cost just €180 or 182 francs for Operation Smile to provide a child with life-changing surgery. Now, in partnership with Operation Smile, EMEA Recruitment is raising valuable funds and aiming to create 100 new smiles to support the organisation to provide free surgeries for children and young adults all over the world. please help us by donating through the link in the bio, or get in touch to see how your company can help get involved too. For the moment, I'll leave you to carry on listening to the rest of the podcast, but if there's anything I can do in terms of answering any questions or finding out how you can help and support EMEA Recruitment and Operation Smile, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
No, I was going to say that the trust element to it was something I was thinking about as you were giving the answers to that question, because even before you mentioned the word, it's one of those things that does run through the answer again, similar to the last one, in that, you know, if you're clear about the needs of the role, and you're open and honest with the people you meet about the goods and the bads of the position, you know, because no position is 100% perfect, you know, and I think if you're honest about the challenges that are there, working hours, as you said, and then, you know, you get the person to meet the team and have trust in the team as well, to meet the individual, so they can see that they're playing a big role in the growth of the team, and they're having an impact on that. Then, you know, again, it is the trust element of it that runs through your style, and it's obviously one of the reasons why you've got a very strong, you know, high performing, loyal team in the business, and I thought, you know, kind of linked into this a bit as well. I thought I'd just try to explore this a little bit more, because, you know, clearly it's something you have a passion for, something you enjoy, and something that you know, you're very strong at on the management side of things. So I just wondered what strategies have tended to work best for you as a manager. I mean, we talked a bit about, you know, trusting the team and giving them responsibility, but is there any additional areas you might be able to highlight that would maybe define your management style?
I think the trust element, as you mentioned before, is one of the biggest. The trust and coach element. As I said before, it's. I don't think that my opinion is the only one or mandatory. We discuss a lot, and I think my team members can contribute quite a lot to how we decide, and this gives, honestly, far better outcomes than if I would dictate completely everything. Another thing that maybe comes into that is that I hate to be part of an operational process. I love these designing processes and fixing processes, making processes work or making them efficient. But I can't stand to be operationally part of a process. And this maybe is also a bit of background to why I've been offered a lot of opportunities by companies in my previous employer, but also now in Publicis over the last almost 12 years. That if I have a problem on the table, I search for a solution that is the best or the most efficient for this solution. And then I try to make it work without my involvement, for not being part of the operational process. So to somehow try to make it work without myself. Once this is done, I'm bored. And when I'm bored, then I search for a new area of responsibility or of tasks. So I think this is an element that was also very important in my career, or is still in my management style and way how I deal with others. I try to find solutions that work, but solutions that work without me. And then try to get something else to keep my brain busy.
I mean, it's interesting because I was going to say, I mean, do you think there's a certain part of your career where there was a bit of a defining point? Because obviously the approach you have, trying to find solutions and then, working with the team to put these in place and the trust in the team to do that. So, it's a true great manager style. But obviously, when you start out in a career, you don't have either the ability or probably the confidence to do that in an early age. So, was there any kind of defining point in your career where you thought, actually, yeah, I can now prove myself as a manager. I'm at the right level to now take that step forward.
Go and show the world that you are able to do it. It's it had a lot to do, I think, with a lot of not only hours, but even efforts in finding better solutions, challenging the state of the art on whatever responsibility I was. In the beginning, when I was controller in Fiat, when I joined Fiat Group in Austria, was back in 1999, I was handed over tasks and I tried immediately to improve them, make them more stable, more reliable, checking data better. And of course, this comes along with not doing only your daily job, but doing the tasks to improve them overnight. And I never asked anything back from companies for doing that, or not in the beginning at least. I was always convinced that one should first show what he's capable to do, and then the reward will come. But it comes automatically. You don't have to ask for it.
That's interesting. And we've talked a lot about, obviously the management style and your approach to problem solving over the years. And clearly you've got an exceptional career and that continues to move forward. So I thought I'd just ask you really what it feels like now to be the CFO at Publicis Group in Switzerland. Is it, do you feel like you've made it now, or is it, how does it feel being these shoes at the moment?
Well, first of all, it's a great job. I spent many years in the automotive industry, and this is a business I'm still in love with, and I have deep relationships still with this, with the industry, with people from there, and so on. But I think the change of from industry to services was one of the key mind-opening steps for me, because you don't have glass and metal and things built together and you sell this product, which is great. And if it's a great product, it's always worth living for that. But in our case, our people are our product. So the greatness of our creative ideas, the smartness of our strategy, or even the seamlessness of our service delivery, those are the key elements that drive our profitability and our success in the market. So we must understand the business of our clients better than they do. So if I want to have a word in negotiations with those clients, this applies to me as well. Even in finance, we need to understand the problems of our clients in detail and very deeply to offer good solutions to them. This also gives me an advantage then in the negotiation if I understand the business of the business and the problems that come along with this business in a good way, and it prepares you well for the discussions with the clients. So you have to put yourself in shoes of many different industries, and there are problems, of course, to solve. So you approach these problems with state-of-the-art technology. So even here, you have to keep up with the development of the technology. So this job is never boring. It's not only my finance responsibility. So of course we have our closings. We have to make sure that our statutory accounts are okay. We do our forecasts and we try to improve our profitability. But it's the core of our industry that makes me wake up happy in the morning and proud to come here every day. It's never boring. Then more on top of on my responsibility in Publicis Group in Switzerland, I have two other jobs, which are basically a finance responsibility for two global clients, UBS and Stellantis. And with Stellantis, we come back to the automotive industry. So I look, just to explain what this means, because it might not be that understandable. This means that I look after the revenue development, the profitability, all contractual and scope negotiations, and all legal matters of those two client accounts. UBS, the bank here in Switzerland, we have quite a concentrated Swiss operations with a bit of Asia, a bit of UK and North America. And Stellantis is really global. Both clients basically ask a lot of services from us. So it's media, it's creative, it's production, there are many digital services, so CRM, SEO. There is data and analytics within that, platform building, and so a lot of things that I see on global level that I try then again to apply to our local needs for the Swiss clients. Wherever possible. It's not always possible because many things as production automation or AI-driven campaign development or platform building, which are the daily bread on the global clients, are not always possible to apply to mid-sized Swiss company, just because of the limited volume, and it wouldn't make sense to apply those. But of course, there are a lot of parallels that I can live between those two worlds, and between a clear finance responsibility for the agencies that we have here in Switzerland, and seeing things on global level. This is, as I said before, it's never boring. It's a very exciting job that I have here.
No, it's great. I mean, you mentioned there exciting role, an industry that you're really passionate about and excited to be in. And I think you often find, when we've been meeting other people on the podcast as well, ultimately, if people are excited about their job, passionate about the industry they're working within, then the job, it feels less of a job. It feels like it's something you enjoy and you're happy to dedicate more hours and time and efforts into, because you enjoy what you do. And I think I'm just trying to think, people listening to this who maybe, let's say, midway through their career in finance, and they're hearing, you talk about this great role you're doing now, but also thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of hard work, to get to that point. So, I mean, what would you say in terms of how you manage to get everything done in the day? Essentially, you've got your main role, you've got the two positions, let's say sub positions under that. You've got a wife, a family. You want to, probably look after yourself outside of work as well. I mean, are you someone who's very strong in time management and prioritizing the key areas of where your focus needs to be to get all this stuff done?
Yeah. Also here, I think the trust element is important. The first thing that one, I think, needs to, from my experience, that I need to think about is what not to manage. So, you can't look into everything. So you should think wisely about what not to manage. Where are the areas that you can hand over someone you trust? And this brings me to the most important part, or the key element: trust your people. So with independent teams and people who are self-responsible, you just decide the areas that you trust them to do. And of course, you are there if there is a problem or an issue to deal with, and you ask how things going. But I couldn't manage everything of my responsibility me alone. So it's a lot of trust here with my people, and to know in which area you can trust whom. Also, I think I mentioned this before. My teams don't come to me and just download the problems. They either take a decision, and if they are not sure, they come to me with alternatives and not with, Edgar, we have a problem. They come with, Edgar, we have a problem, solution A or B or C. Which one would you prefer? And that makes things very efficient. Then I think very important, don't forget that you can only be efficient if you feel well. So I think not to neglect sleep and exercise is a good advice for everyone. I often do my running, for example, in the early morning hours. And while exercising, I also, with this, resolve problems. You know, if there is an important decision to take or whatever, and you go in the morning for a run, after 1 hour, you come back and you're likely to have a solution, or at least you have a clearer view on it. And then the way forward is easier to go. And fourth and most important, one can only be efficient when you don't carry around worries, problems. So save time for your family, for your beloved, no matter how stressful your diary is. It's important to be with them, because they will be with you if you need one day their help. Your boss might not be there if you need help, and your shareholder of your company for sure won't. So, make sure that you don't lose the relationship and the closeness to your family, and in my case, my wife, my daughters. So that's important for me.
No, and I think what the answer you've just given there, I mean, it's really good. It's great to hear. You know, I think if I look at the majority of guests we've had on the podcast, but also the majority of people who've written about their successes in their lives and careers, you know, it's one of those things that most people have in common, is that they try to do their exercise first thing in the morning, so it gets done, you know, and it also starts the day in the right way. It clears your head. And then another thing you mentioned that a lot of people have in common is that when they are having their family time, it is really family time. It's not sitting down for dinner with one eye on the television and one eye on your iPhone checking emails. It's having that focused time. And I think that's it's really interesting to hear, you know, that's what they're the kind of disciplines you've got in place outside of work, which obviously help you to be successful in work as well. And I think, you know, in some of these answers you've given as well, we've been talking a bit about efficiency and trying to understand markets, understand clients, and how essentially the information is knowledge in this case. And one of the questions I was going to ask you about was around the impact of business intelligence and data, because clearly the things you've mentioned throughout the last couple of answers have been around information and data and so on, and trying to use that in the right way. And I just wondered what your thoughts are on the impact of BI and data as it stands now, but also probably what you see happening in the future around the impacts of BI and data around finance specifically.
You know, we have some core values within my finance team, 6 of them, and I just want to pick 2 here. One is we fix processes to fix problems, and one is we share information, and both are somehow representative for what one can do with BI and data assist. Our world becomes increasingly complex, and so we have more and more data. We have more available data than we ever had. So this quantity of data somehow must be structured and filtered and managed to be useful in the decision-making process. Otherwise, it's just an ocean of information, and you can't navigate really through. So you need to structure this data somehow. Also in finance, in finance, we have a huge quantity of data that somehow we need to manage. With this increasing quantity and also in complexity, we need to find a way to be very efficient in visualizing this data, not only for us to understand and analyze it better, but also to onboard other operational functions. If we want to work better together with them, we need to share information in a very efficient and easily understandable way. We can't afford to put reports together manually or whatever. No, it just takes too much time. It's too slow, and once you finished, the information is already outdated. So, of course, Excel is a great tool, and still is. And I don't want to play down Excel here, but It has become, the data quantity has become too heavy for managing this efficiently in Excel. So with data visualization tools, you can automate many processes and offer quick and easily understandable possibility to share data and to onboard people, and also for yourself to analyze it better. It's easy to use. You can really make the difference with that, and that's why we teach this also actively to all our team members. I always said them, look. Meanwhile, I'm 50 years old, so for me, maybe I could come through the rest of my career, but they are all young people, and this is not the future. This is already today's reality. So you need to understand this. You need to be capable of organizing things with tools like Power BI and so on. So we teach this actively within our teams. We try to apply as much of it to our daily world, to compare data with it, to share data, to get processes that there were before on very heavy weighted Excel files now on Power BI, to obtain a more stable solution, a stable solution where you can better rely on things going in the right direction. And I think that's interesting for all the team members to get in touch with this, and they see by working with it, the value that this really powerful tool have.
I mean, as you mentioned in that, it's a huge learning curve for everybody. I think the younger generation, I think they pick these things up very quickly, yes, and quite easily react to anything technology related very, very well. But I think for managers and so on, it is vital that they keep learning in this area. I think again, that's a common trait that really successful people have as well, aligned with yourself on the learning and development side. You always want to be trying to learn more. And I think that where this comes into play related to the BI and data discussion we're having is that I know you've recently finished the executive MBA in digital transformation, which is linked into this, obviously, So I think, it's what are the kind of positives that you've taken from the research on the executive MBA you've done, and how can you kind of implement that into the new BI and data world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another core value that we have within the finance team is we learn continuously. We learn continuously, of course, applies also to me, and this is why I joined this executive MBA in digital transformation, and it was actually fun to be back in school and get the head out of the daily soup and think about generally what's going on in the industry and so on. And as you mentioned, my master thesis was about financial processes in collaboration with the client. I analyzed their ways of reducing risk in the administrative relationship with the client, and also finding out about possibilities to increase value in our relationship with the client by implementing a platform. And guess what I'm currently doing for Publicis Groupe? I can put this in action. We are developing a global platform for the global client Stellantis that I'm responsible for all the financial matters, and this will be also, and that's a great thing for me, for the team, for the group. I think this will also be the blueprint of how Publicis Groupe will work together with global clients in the future. because whatever we develop now for the global client Stellantis, we will roll out to other key group clients. So I'm really honored by the trust of our group CFO has in me and the team, and we have full support of finance methodologies department in our headquarters and group IT. And in this area of responsibility, we are defining the future ways of working for the group. And actually, we went live last week with our first model, which is some kind of accounts receivables management, and that creates new ways of working together between client finance, the client purchasing, and our finance and cash collection teams. So over the platform, they can work together, they can share data, documents, align continuously on balances, and so on, while we are able also from regional or global perspective to consolidate this data. So we have a constant, we talk about the same data source with the client. What was my observations with many client agency or general client relationships for whatever industry, that you have so many problems in the account, in the cash collection process, accounts receivable management, missing invoices not in line with PO, services rejected, whatever. If you can find a way to share this data constantly with your client, to have a constant feedback, to have also structured feedback, for example, rejected invoices or wrong PO number or whatever, are things that I can choose now on my global platform. So I can even consolidate this information and say, okay, 5% of all our non-manageable invoices from the client are due to wrong PO number. So we know what's the source of problem and where we have to act on our side to make the process more efficient. And I think, it may sound a bit simple, but solutions are never rocket science. They are normally a solution to a problem that basically makes a process more manageable or leaner or whatever. And this will make it, of course, leaner. It's only the first model. There is a lot to come. But this is one of an example that even if it may sound simple to basically share an open item balance, but I can guarantee you it's not that simple if you talk about 90 plus markets and a very complex setup of different legal entities and ERP systems. So I'm very proud that we have gone live with our first model, and we are developing on many others that will make our relationship with the client easier and on our side, but also for the client, and will add value to this. Sure.
It's really exciting, and it links into everything you've been talking about so far in the conversation. You know, about it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting part of the role. I know that's something that you mentioned yourself earlier, about the position you're in. You obviously, you can tell there's a lot of motivation and passion for you in the position in this project. You know, you continue to learn and push yourself outside of the standard role, and that learning and development has opened up, you know, these new opportunities for you, you know, so you created some of the path, your own path for yourself as well on that side, and doing that with a great team around you, where the trust element is high as well. So it sounds like there's a tick next to all the boxes there, Edgar. I don't know if I'm missing anything there, but I think like that feels like you've achieved everything you've set out to do, you know, so far, really, I guess.
No, you know, I'm in the end of the day, I'm a happy person with my job and also in private life with my family. So I can't complain. And from my career perspective, of course, I've always said I've been all through these years, I've been very happy to to have been offered many opportunities by companies. Of course, they say it's like in soccer, you have to be the one that does the penalty, but then the ball must go into the goal. So you have then to perform. And this, but is an ongoing, exciting journey through challenges and delivery. That's it. Yeah.
And on top of all this, I also heard from someone in our shared network this morning that it was your 50th birthday a few days ago. I know you mentioned that you were 50 years old earlier in the discussion, but you kind of beat me to the line where I heard it was your 50th birthday a few days ago as well. So I hope you had a good celebration for that, because one of the questions I was going to ask you, just to sign off, really quite a light-hearted one. I mean, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, the show is in partnership with Operation Smile. So I always like to ask the guests what the last thing was that made them smile. So I don't know whether this is going to revert back to your 50th birthday party a few days ago, or there's something since then that you were smiling about.
Yeah, I think, as you said, last weekend I celebrated my 50th birthday, and there were many people from Switzerland, but also from abroad, coming to celebrate with me, and a lot of ex-colleagues who became friends over time. So, and to see the friendship and this relationship not ending, but developing and keeping up through the years, this really made me smile. And of course, my 3 ladies at home make me smile each single day. So it's
no, that's it. And again, that I know that's one of the things that a lot of people, as they get as the years go by, they kind of lose touch with a lot of the friends that they built up over the years, and it's one of the regrets I know a lot of people have. As other things get in the way, friends, the family and work and other commitments. So it's great to see that you still got all the great people around you, strong families, strong friends, great job, and a great approach to your career and life. So I know that you're really busy at the moment, Edgar, so to have an hour with you on the podcast today has been great. So I really appreciate your time. I mean, obviously a lot of people in the network might be keen to reach out to you. So I don't know, what's the best way they can reach out to you? Would you say LinkedIn?
Yes, of course. Yeah, just drop me a message on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way. And I'll be happy to be in touch and meet up or whatever. So it's always good to know and meet other people, other opinions, and this ends up either in a personal friendship or relationship, and or in a business relationship, or we can do one thing for the other. So I think meeting people, getting new input is always positive, and is the salt maybe in life. So, and also to you, Paul, thanks for having me. Thanks for this interview. It was a lot of fun with you, and thanks for your time as well.
No problem. No, I've really enjoyed it. I know I've taken a lot from it. I know the network will as well. So really, thanks again for your time, Edgar. And obviously, we'll keep in touch.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you'd like to reach out to Paul or myself, please feel free to send a connection through on LinkedIn. And if you'd like to listen to previous episodes of the podcast, you can find them all at our website, www.emearecruitment.eu.